Welcome to Mining Over Canada. Join the Canadian Securities Exchange and our partners in a first-hand look into our country's vast mining landscape. Welcome to Mining Over Canada. I'm your host, Barrington Miller from the Canadian Securities Exchange. And today we will be profiling West Red Lake, and we're kind of doing it different. We will actually be on site with Ken Guy, the exploration manager for West Red Lake. Hi, Ken.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
We're going to take it back a little bit. Where in the world is West Red Lake?
Well, right now I'm up a few 15 kilometers from Red Lake, Ontario. So we have a bush road, but infrastructure is a little lacking. But we're here looking for. That's where you find the gold, I guess.
How long have you been there?
We got involved in this project in 2007, and we've been basically working on it. Actually, the project itself consists of 3 different sub-projects, but the property, the entire property itself, we put it together in 2007, and we've been working on it since then. Every year, doing small drill programs or multiple programs on different parts of the property.
So part of our audience may not quite know or understand what a drill program is. Just for their education, could you tell us what you mean when you say a drill program?
Well, drill program is, I guess when you obviously, everyone can see the surface, although you can't even see the surface of the rock because it's basically covered with overburden in most places. And the Canadian Shield is not covered as much as it is in the rest of the world, but we've got this over 2 billion year old rock covered with a thin slice of glacial till, and underneath that is the rock that hosts the mineral deposits. So in order to see those mineral deposits and evaluate them, you can strip off the overburden, and that'll give you a 2-dimensional view of them. But a 2-dimensional view isn't all that meaningful. So to get that 3rd dimension, you drill a hole into the deposit at various depths and assay the core, log the core. I mean, what you get is a cylinder of rock coming out of the drill, so that you can examine every inch of the rock for that entire length of your drill hole, and then you send sections off for assay, and that gives you a full 3-dimensional picture of what you're looking at.
Now, how and why did you choose to be in that location?
Well, I mean, Red Lake is a premier gold camp in Canada. It's produced 30 million ounces of gold. And it's a very high grade camp. I mean, most people will be familiar with the Goldcorp Red Lake mine. When we got involved, I mean, one of our primary properties is the Rowan property, and we actually optioned it off of Goldcorp, at the time. Goldcorp has now become, has sold their assets in Red Lake to Evolution, an Australian company, or I guess Goldcorp became Newmont, and then Newmont sold to Evolution. But so obviously, it's when you want to find gold, the best place to look is in prospective geology, and Red Lake has lots of geology that's very prospective for gold exploration. And part of the reason we're where we are in this particular location in Red Lake is, of course, the gold in Red Lake tends to cluster on these large regional structures. And one of the large regional structures is called the St. Paul's Bay Deformation Zone. And so our property has 12 kilometers strike length that includes, that overlays the St. Paul's Bay Deformation Zone, and as well it has intersections with other key structures that are focal points for gold mineralization or for gold exploration in particular. So that all of these structural geological attributes all suggested that this was a good place to be, and that's where we ended up.
So you're there. You're at West Red Lake now. You're not the only gold company that's there, or you're not the only exploration company that's there. Um, for our audience, just explain how that relationship works. Is there just one other company? Are there individuals who are looking for gold? Tell us a little bit about that.
Are you're talking like in general or
Yeah,
property specific in general?
in
Okay,
general.
well, often gold exploration starts with, just like people think of it from the books or the movies, with a prospector out with his hammer, banging on rocks, looking for gold. That's phase one of the. Of course, that happened a lot up here in the 1920s and the 1930s, when when the original discovery of the Red Lake camp occurred. At that time, of course, Red Lake was actually the busiest airport in, I think, North America for a year or something, because it had no road access.
I
So it
did
was all the
not know
float
that.
planes, all the float planes landing on the lake. And so it was obviously a beehive of activity for prospectors in the entire area. So most of this property was explored earlier on, but of course, prospectors can only view that 2 dimensions I was talking about. They don't usually do drilling and stuff like that. So the prospectors give you the geological, the 2-dimension view. And of course, there's a lot of the areas covered by overburden, again, aren't accessible to the prospectors. So then later on, so to advance the prospectors, obviously people and governments will fly like airborne geophysical surveys. And what they do is the geophysical surveys, the one that's helpful in gold exploration primarily is a magnetic survey, which is detecting the magnetic susceptibility of the rocks that are in the ground underlying, underneath that glacial till. So we can actually pick up the geophysical attributes of the rocks beneath the glacial till. And of course, all the rocks have different magnetic susceptibilities. And so you find out, it allows you to trace the geology or the stratigraphy from areas where you want to be to areas where you are. And as well, they'll tell you just, add some structural component to your information package as well.
Now, I'm looking behind you and I see a lot of cool looking things that are hanging. Um, there's a map. It looks like a safety bag. What's that orange thing in the corner on the other side to your
Oh,
left?
that's just a case that contains our camera for taking pictures of our core.
And some of those pictures behind you.
Yeah, well, the more colorful ones are the magnetic maps. Those are the airborne magnetic maps of the area, and the ones with you can't see a lot of color on that are just lines.
Yep.
Those are like our drill hole plan maps, where we drilled on the property. I mean, we put all our information into a drill hole database, and then so we can keep track of all the information, and it allows us to see where we've been, what's next, and where to go.
How many programs or how many types of programs have you worked on and have you been affiliated with? Because you seem like you have a lot of experience.
Well, yeah, gonna give let the cat out of the bag. I've been doing this since the late 70s. So I've been doing it for 40 years, 50 years type thing. Well, 40 years, I guess, over 40 years.
I can't believe you started when you were 2 years old. That's amazing. All right. Right now, I'm going to bring in Mr. John Kontak.
Good to be here. Thank you, Barrington.
Hi, John. John, for the record, state your full name and title.
John Kontak, and I'm the president of West Red Lake Gold Mines, listed on the CSE under the symbol RLG.
Well, John, we've been speaking with on the ground and on site, but now let's get a different sort of view, a little bit of capital markets. Yeah, tell us about West Red Lake and your involvement with it from a capital markets perspective.
Well, I first got involved in West Red Lake Gold Mines in 2015. I was the president of a company, Victor Gold Mines, that had been listed on the CSE as well. So I have a long history with the exchange and multiple gold exploration and development companies in Ontario. The last company was in Timmins, Ontario, a prolific mining camp in Ontario. And now, of course, as you know from your discussions with Ken, we now have a property in Red Lake, Ontario.
What attracted you to West Red Lake?
Well, I think where the asset is located. Red Lake, Ontario has produced 30 million ounces of gold. It's the historic home of Goldcorp, which has produced about 18 million ounces of gold from the historic Goldcorp mines, which are now owned by Evolution Mining Limited, about a 750,000 ounce producer based in Australia, who's invested about $500 million, taking over the historic Goldcorp assets in Red Lake, Ontario. And Evolution Mining is our joint venture partner on the Rowan Mine portion of our property, where we have a 43-101 resource of 1.1 million ounces, grading at 7.57 grams per ton. So, you know, it just gives us a very good start from a capital markets perspective and investors perspective, and that we're in a well-developed mining camp. We're in a mine-friendly jurisdiction of Ontario, and we have a resource in which we can build on at our former producing Rowan Mine location.
Now, this is a little bit unscripted, and I'm going to go off the record. So you've obviously visited Ken. Ken, is John, would you say, an experienced person up in the mines?
Oh yeah, John's been around. I mean, when you've been in Timmins and Red Lake, I mean, actually, John and I worked together in Timmins as well. I mean, I've spent most of my career in Timmins. You know, I've worked all over the world, obviously, but I have spent a majority of my time in Timmins, which is like the #1 gold camp in Canada. So that's a place to be. And then obviously Red Lake is a great place because it's a higher grade camp. It's a newer camp, not as old as Timmins, but they're both great places to be.
John, I want to get a larger perspective as to where this is headed, where the sector's headed, where the industry. Just care to talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I think because that's the underlying shareholder value proposition of all of what we do. What Ken mentioned, that he was the exploration manager of the prior company that I've been president of. Another very important member of our team is our executive chairman, Tom Meredith. And what Ken, Tom, and I have done as a team is explore and develop Ontario mining deposits, gold deposits, and made them valuable to the Canadian gold producing industry. And we've done transactions for multiple hundreds of millions of dollars after we've taken over companies that were worth less than $20 million, for example. Now, how does one do that? We're in a very cyclical industry, and one has to know where they are in the cycle. And most of the time, where you are in the cycle is in a bear market. That's just how it is when you're a junior exploration and development story. When you're in a bull market, which is a minority of the time, you have to take advantage of that. We think we're on the front end of a bull market right now. Why are we on the front end of a bull market right now? Well, it's the timeless issues that have created these markets in the gold sector. The main things are the macroeconomic forces, I would say, of historically low interest rates. The federal funds rate in the US is between 0 and 25 basis points. And according to Chairman Powell, is likely to remain there for an extended period of time. The forward guidance is the 2023, for example. So we're going, and then when you have any inflation, you're negative real interest rates in the US, and the same in the Eurozone and Japan. So that's negative real interest rates are very positive for the gold sector. And this, at the end of the day, is driven by debt. We have debt, sovereign debt, corporate debt, personal debt. Was very much the case on December 31st of 2019. But now with the COVID pandemic, and I should mention that the province of Ontario, right from the beginning, deemed mining to be essential industry. So mining has continued in Ontario, and we're continuing to drill and develop our property in 2020, and we'll continue to do so in 2021. But what we're adding to the debt game, so to speak, is these unfunded stimulus packages by trillions of dollars in the US and by hundreds of billions of dollars in Canada. So it's adding to already a very onerous level of debt that creates a low interest rate environment and a negative real interest rate environment. And charts going back 50 years will tell you negative real interest rates create a positive market in the precious metals, including gold. So what we're going to do, and what we have been doing, we raised $1,662,000 that we closed in September of this year. So we have a handsome treasury. We'll look forward to adding to that as capital moves into the sector, and we think that will result in higher share prices as the gold price moves up. So we'll be able to raise more amounts of money at higher prices and keep the drill turning and develop the property. And at the end of the day, what we do is make it valuable to the gold producing industry. Historically, as a management team, we have not brought mines into production. What we've done is made the deposits valuable to those companies who do bring mines into production. Prior assets of ours are now held by the likes of McEwen Mining and the Osisko Mining family of companies. So making them valuable to blue chip Canadian mining companies. That way everyone gets upgraded to more senior paper and can lay off their positions as they see fit from there. And we've done these transactions for as much as a couple $100 million. And now we're a company with a market cap of less than $30 million. So you can see how we can create shareholder value as we move along and develop the property, and look forward to capital moving into the gold sector for the macroeconomic reasons I mentioned.
Wow. And scene. That was
hopefully that answers your question, Barrington.
That answered about 10 of them. People are curious how long, especially being in Ontario, being in Canada, how long you keep the camp open. Do you go all year round? Do you, when the first snowfall hits, how long do you stay up there?
We go year round. Obviously it's a bit easier in the summertime when you don't have to plow the roads, but there's advantages to the winter as well. You can go on the swamps, you can go on the walk, the lakes are frozen, and so every season has its advantages. But we're in a location where it is fairly simple to go year round.
One thing that John mentioned that doesn't get enough attention, or zero attention as far as I'm concerned, was that mining was deemed an essential service. I don't think a lot of people know that, and I'm sure there's many communities like the one that you're operating in, which are sort of thankful. And as far as COVID is concerned, how has that affected either you bringing on workers or isolating or all of those things?
We've obviously taken a lot of precautions in that respect. We do, we hired an extra person to clean the camp and things like that. But I mean, we're not, most of our people aren't coming from populated areas. Nobody is coming from Toronto or Montreal or what what now being termed the COVID hotspots. I mean, there's not a lot of cases in Red Lake. There's not a lot of cases in most of Ontario, north of North Bay. So that's it hasn't really been an issue for us. I guess there are a couple of cases now in Red Lake, travel related and stuff like that with some people, as there are people working for other companies who are coming from Vancouver and that. But we're mostly Eastern Canada based, and we're not coming from Toronto or Montreal or anything. So we haven't had an issue, but it's been easy to work around it and hasn't really affected us all that much.
Oh, that's good to hear. Sorry, John, you were going to say something.
Well, our board has been involved in these topics. Ken Guy is the exploration manager. Our property manager has been involved. We have an inventory of masks, gloves, sanitation. As Ken said, we've hired extra personnel. We've set up a dining area outside, various things. Take it very seriously, and we've taken every possible precaution.
I just wanted to say on behalf of the Canadian Securities Exchange, thank you not only for your listening, but also your friendship and your support. And we wish you continued success and health to you and your families and your colleagues. And thank you for participating in this special episode of Mining Over Canada with West Red Lake.